I never thought the happiest trip of my life would start with me not showing up to my own wedding. Yeah, you heard that right. The guests were already seated. The flowers were arranged. My fiancé was standing at the altar. And me, I was at the airport, holding a one-way ticket for my honeymoon, alone. But here's the thing that makes this story even crazier. I didn't run away because I was scared of marriage. I ran away because of what my family did the night before the wedding. And once you hear it, you might understand why I did something they'll never forget. My name is Emily Carter, and this is the story of how my own wedding turned into the most dramatic decision of my life. Let me take you back a little. Growing up, my family always looked perfect from the outside. Nice house, holiday photos, family dinners every Sunday. But behind closed doors, it was different. My parents were the kind of people who cared a lot about appearances. Everything had to look perfect. My grades, my job, even the man I married. And that's where the problems started. Because the man I fell in love with wasn't exactly the one they imagined. His name was Daniel. Daniel wasn't rich. He didn't come from a powerful family. He was just kind. He worked as a high school teacher. He made terrible jokes. He burned pancakes every Sunday morning. And somehow, he made my life feel calm. For the first time, I felt like someone loved me for who I was. Not for the version my parents wanted, but my parents, they hated him. At first, they pretended to be polite. You know that fake smile people do? Yeah, that one. But slowly, the comments started. My mom would say things like, "Emily, don't you think you could do better?" My dad would laugh and say, "A teacher? Really?" And every time it happened, Daniel would just smile and change the subject. He never fought back. He never made things worse. That's one of the reasons I loved him so much. So when he proposed, I said yes immediately. I didn't hesitate. I thought my family would eventually accept it. I mean, it was my life, right? But I was wrong, because the closer the wedding got, the more uncomfortable things became. My mom started taking control of everything. The guest list, the decorations, the venue. At first, I thought she was just excited. But then I noticed something strange. Daniel's family kept disappearing from the plans. Their names weren't on the seating chart. Their invitations got lost. Their suggestions were ignored. It was subtle at first, but it kept happening. And every time I asked my mom about it, she'd just say, "Oh, honey, don't worry about the details." But something about it didn't feel right. And then, the night before the wedding happened, the rehearsal dinner, everyone was there. My parents, my relatives, Daniel's parents. The room was full of laughter, wine glasses clinking, people giving little speeches. For a moment, I actually thought everything was finally okay. Maybe my parents had accepted him, after all. But then my father stood up. He tapped his glass. The whole room went quiet. He smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. It was the kind of smile that makes your stomach drop. He started talking about family, about traditions, about the kind of future he wanted for me. At first it sounded normal, but then his tone changed. He looked directly at Daniel, and he said something that made the entire room freeze. Something so humiliating. I still remember the exact silence after it. My father said, "Of course, we all know Emily could have married someone far more successful." A few people laughed awkwardly, but he wasn't joking. Then he added, "But love makes people ignore reality sometimes." And suddenly the room felt ice cold. Daniel didn't say anything. He just sat there. His parents looked devastated. And my mother? She didn't stop my dad. She just sipped her wine, like nothing was wrong. I felt my chest tighten. My ears were ringing. Was this really happening at my rehearsal dinner? But my father wasn't finished. He leaned forward and said something even worse. Something that changed everything. He said, Let's just hope this marriage doesn't become Emily's biggest mistake. That was the moment I realized something. My parents weren't just embarrassed by Daniel. They were trying to humiliate him in front of everyone. And suddenly I had one terrifying thought. If they were willing to do this tonight, what would they do tomorrow? At the wedding, in front of hundreds of guests, I looked at Daniel. His smile was gone. For the first time since I met him, he looked broken. And right then, I made a decision no one in that room saw coming. Because a few hours later, while everyone was sleeping, I quietly packed my suitcase. And instead of preparing for my wedding, I was booking a flight. But the real shock, I wasn't just leaving the wedding. I was about to do something that would leave my entire family speechless. And when they realized where I went for my honeymoon, that's when the real drama began. So there I was, sitting at the airport, early morning, almost no people around, just the sound of rolling suitcases and planes taking off in the distance. My hands were shaking, not because I was scared, but because I knew, once I got on that plane, there was no going back. My phone kept vibrating, over and over. Mom calling, Dad calling, my cousin texting. Emily, where are you? People are arriving. The wedding starts in 2 hours. I just stared at the screen. For a moment, I almost answered. But then I remembered Daniel's face at the dinner. That quiet smile, that humiliation, and something inside me hardened. So I turned the phone off. Completely. Silence. For the first time in years. I felt free. But you're probably wondering something. If I skipped the wedding, why did I still go on the honeymoon? And more importantly, where did I go? Well, that's the part my family never expected. Because the honeymoon destination was the exact same place my parents had secretly planned for themselves. Yeah, you heard that right. Months earlier, my mom had been bragging about a luxury anniversary trip they were planning. A beautiful resort, ocean view villas, private beach. It was supposed to be their perfect romantic getaway. And somehow, while helping with wedding planning, I found out the exact hotel, the exact week, the exact room type. So when I booked my flight that night, I booked that resort. Same week, same place, different room. Petty? Maybe. But after what they did to Daniel, it felt like the perfect message. The boarding call echoed through the airport. My heart started pounding. This was it. I grabbed my bag, walked to the gate, and stepped onto the plane. But the craziest part, Daniel still had no idea what I was doing. I hadn't even told him yet, because before the flight took off, I sent him one message. Just one. I'm sorry about last night. You didn't deserve that. Meet me at the airport if you still believe in us. Then I turned my phone off again. The plane doors closed. And suddenly, I didn't know if he would come. 10 hours later, I landed. Warm air hit my face as I stepped outside the airport. Palm trees, blue sky, the ocean smell. It should have felt like a dream. But my stomach was in knots, because I still hadn't turned my phone on. What if Daniel never came? What if I had just destroyed my entire life for nothing? I finally sat down on a bench, took a deep breath, and turned my phone on. Notifications exploded. Dozens of missed calls. Messages. Chaos. My mom was furious. My dad was threatening to cut me off. Relatives were confused. Guests were angry. Apparently, the wedding had turned into a complete disaster. But I wasn't looking for their messages. I was looking for one name, Daniel. And then I saw it. One message, sent 6 hours earlier. Just 3 words. I'm coming too. My heart skipped. I read the message again and again. I looked up from my phone, and that's when I saw him, walking through the airport doors. Same messy hair, same tired smile, carrying a backpack. He stopped when he saw me. For a second, neither of us moved. Then he laughed, a real laugh, and said, "So, this is our honeymoon." I felt tears in my eyes. I nodded. Yeah, I guess it is. He walked closer, still smiling. Then he asked something quietly. Did you really skip your entire wedding for this? I shook my head. No, I skipped it for you. For a moment, he didn't say anything. Then he hugged me, tight, like he was afraid I might disappear. And honestly, in that moment, I knew I made the right choice. But remember the part about the resort? Well, 3 days later, something happened that made this story even crazier. Daniel and I were walking through the lobby, heading to breakfast, laughing, relaxed, happy, and then suddenly, Daniel froze. I followed his gaze, and my stomach dropped, because standing near the reception desk, with shocked faces, were my parents. They had just arrived for their anniversary trip, and the moment they saw us, their expressions changed completely. My mom looked furious. My dad looked like he might explode. The silence between us was heavy. 10 seconds passed. No one moved. Then Daniel quietly leaned toward me and whispered, Did you plan this? I smiled a little. Maybe. My parents slowly walked over. My dad looked ready to yell. But before he could say anything, Daniel did something unexpected. He reached for my hand, held it firmly, and said calmly, Mr. Carter, Mrs. Carter, good morning. My parents looked at our hands, then at our faces, then around the beautiful resort lobby. And I swear, in that moment, they finally realized something. They had tried to control my life. They had tried to embarrass the man I loved. But instead, they pushed me away. And now, we were happy. Without them, my mom opened her mouth to speak. But nothing came out. For once, they had no control. Daniel squeezed my hand again and smiled. Come on, he said. Let's go enjoy our honeymoon. And just like that, we walked past them, straight toward the beach. The ocean waves were loud. The sun was rising. And for the first time in my life, I felt like my story truly belonged to me.